Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Three Men Talking Fantasy Football. I'm here with Mr. Anthony Perez, Mr. Thomas Lang, and I am Bill DeCousas, and we are here to talk Week 15 matchups. How you doing, gentlemen?
Doing good. How's it going with you, Billy?
It's going all right. We got a lot to get to this week, so let's jump right in. Let's get rocking and rolling here. So Thursday night football, we have the Los Angeles Rams at the San Francisco 49ers. The FanDuel spread there, 49ers minus 2.5 points. The over/under is 49.5 points. This is going to be another 2 straight weeks of good Thursday night football here.
Yeah.
So we got a bunch of players in the must start category. Brock Purdy, especially after that horrendous defensive performance by the Rams, you're playing him. Kyron Williams, you're playing him. Puka and Cooper, you're playing him. Jawan Jennings, you're playing him. And, of course, George Kittle, you're playing him. How do you guys see some of these tertiary options? Now, let's hold off on the Garendo talk. But other than Garendo, how do you guys see maybe like your Debo or maybe your I guess, or maybe your Stafford start. How do you guys see that?
I'll start here. I think Debo right now, if he doesn't get it going this week, it's going to be tough for anybody to want to start Debo for the rest of the playoffs. You're going into the first week of the playoffs, wild card. Some of you guys have a bye. Some of you guys don't have a bye. Also, point element. Some people are not even in the playoffs, but they're still fighting for points. I just don't know if I'd be able to feel comfortable starting a Debo this week based on his usage the past couple weeks. I mean, last week was good weather too. Garendo basically took over. I know we're going to talk more about him in a few seconds, but I don't know who else outside of Jennings. Jennings and obviously Kittle. I feel comfortable with starting.
Yeah, I agree with Tommy's sentiment there. Outside of Jennings and Kittle, it's hard to trust anyone else on that 49ers roster, and the receiving corps especially. Debo just hasn't been doing much lately. Serious lack of production from him. So, I feel confident with Jennings and Kittle, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, he can turn it up. He can turn it up, but I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable plugging him in my lineup this week.
So on the Garendo situation, Tommy and I had a whole discussion on that situation in our waiver talk. So we won't rehash the whole thing in terms of actionable where we're at. So I know that Garendo did not participate in practice today. My thought was, as a Garendo owner, that if he couldn't get in a practice before the Thursday night game, just basically to assume that he's out. If that's the case, I think Taylor's a pretty good start. How do you see that, Tommy?
I don't think it's a good start. I know we discussed it yesterday. I'm gonna leave the floor for Anthony for this one, but I just want to give you a little heads up. Garendo is more tracking to not playing tomorrow, right. So keep an eyeball on that. Even if he does play with everything how it's laid out right this second, I would steer clear of the 49ers backfield 100%. There's going to be too many mouths to feed. You're not going to understand. You're not going to know who's going to get the touches. And it could be kind of like a New England Patriots back with Belichick situation. The best man gets it. It might not be Taylor. It might be somebody else. And I would not want to go into the first round of the playoffs with a dud at RB2.
You agree? You agree with that, Anthony?
Yeah, you're on mute.
So let's see. It's one of those situations where I find if he is going to be the starter, I think you have to start him. Patrick Taylor, I believe the Rams played the 49ers back in week 3.
Remember, Trent Williams is out too. The highly overpaid left tackle.
Yeah. And who started that game? Was Jordan Mason, I think, for the 49ers against the Rams, and he had a pretty decent game that game. I think if you have Patrick Taylor, you're probably picking him up because you lost Isaac Guerrero, and I don't know who the other options are on that 49ers team right now. So
Well, I mean, it's the smorgasbord of Keyshawn Vaughn and Israel. It's the old Jets guy, Israel Banaconda.
but they're already down to their fifth string running back in Taylor. You know what I mean? I don't know how much more deeper this thing can go. But the Rams are susceptible to the run. So if you want to start him, I think he could have a positive day. I mean, he did get a touchdown last week. I think he had 7 for 25 and a touchdown. So if you picked him up and Guerendo's not playing, I say start him.
I bet you that this San Francisco running back situation is going to affect a whole lot of people's playoff situations this first round here.
I kind of just hate that it's on a Thursday night. I think that's the bummer about all that.
I would honestly say for a betting perspective, though, that Los Angeles pulls out this game.
Interesting.
I'd go heavy with that.
I'm going 49ers 27-24.
I'm not giving a score, but I'm telling you right now, LA is going to win this game.
I'll be honest, Anthony. I think San Francisco wins, but like maybe by 1.
Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on. Next game, we've got the Washington Commanders at the New Orleans Saints. Washington -7 points. The line there is 43.5 points. Not a lot of points for the Saints. The Saints, who are led by some combination of Spencer Rattler, Jacob Hayner, and Ben DiNucci. Pick your poison there for whoever's going to play quarterback for the Saints. Jaden Daniels, you're playing him. Brian Robinson, you're playing him. Alvin Kamara, of course, you're playing him. Terry McLaurin, you're playing tight end, the greatest tight end in the history of the wide world. Zach Ertz, you're playing him. And of course, you are playing the Washington Commanders defense. Play them this week. They're among the top of any of the other options against the Saints. In terms of tertiary options here, we kind of mentioned it, Tommy, on the waiver show. You could take a shot on Jawan Johnson, assuming that he might get some targets. I'd be totally afraid of it with the backup quarterback situation. How do you see some of the other options, Jawan Johnson, et cetera, wide receivers? How do you see this?
I mean, personally, depending on who starts as quarterback, if I don't have to play any of them, I'm probably not starting them, even MDS. I can't trust it.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, you're not starting him, but you're not dropping him.
No,
I don't think he's a drop candidate, as we were discussing on the waiver show. But you can't start him this week. You have to see how that flow that offense is going to go. And unfortunately, sometimes Washington's defense does let up some big plays. So it could be a nice play for him potentially, but you can't roll the dice on that. I think Marshawn Lattimore is coming back this week, so it's going to add a little bit more depth to the Washington's backfield. And obviously, I wouldn't say a revenge game. He's got put on a better team, so it's a good matchup game for him to come back and to show off. So I think, again, talking about the Washington's defense, that is definitely a high play this week.
Absolutely.
I think this actually could be a really good game for Alvin Kamara, though. Even with that quarterback situation, I think he's going to be the safety net, and I could see a high reception game for him too.
I thought the same thing. I thought the same thing last week.
I thought so too. I think if Kendre Miller didn't steal that touchdown from Kamara, then that would have been a very different week. Kamara has actually had a few kind of off weeks here. I think he's due. I think he's due to make a little return. Let's move on. We've got the Cincinnati Bengals at the Tennessee Titans. Cincinnati -4.5 points. The over/under there is 46.5 points. A lot of players in this one that you're playing. Joe Burrow, fire him up. Chase Brown, let's go. Tony Pollard, let's go. Jamar Chase, obviously, let's go. T. Higgins, even though I hate to admit it, he's my least favorite fantasy football player ever. I'm not going to deny it. Let's go T. Higgins. Calvin Ridley, I think it's just don't even think about it. Just plug him in. I mean, as awful as the Titans has looked, he still keeps getting it done. I mean, and especially how bad the Cincinnati Bengals defense is, rock and roll. Do you think it's even worth it taking a shot on NWI here?
I mean, I wouldn't go as far as starting the Cincinnati Bengals defense, but I think honestly this game hits the over. I think that it's not going to be a closer game, but I think it's probably going to be in the 30s for Cincinnati, and the Tennessee Titans are going to hit in the high teens, maybe close to 20s or low 20s. So I see, Pollard, hitting pay dirt. Obviously see Chase hitting pay dirt, but I also see Higgins, catching a touchdown this week in redemption week. Maybe Gesicki, getting in the end zone. So,
Not NWI.
no, I think NWI is going to have a redemption game this week. I mean, maybe he has that 2 touchdown week. Who knows? But I wouldn't go that high. I'd probably shoot for 1. But he needs to get those targets, and I think this is the week. This is a good week for him to get those targets back.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like NWI and Calvin Ridley are both in for a pretty solid week this week. The Bengals' pass defense is just atrocious. They allow the 6th most receiving yards per game and the 4th most receiving touchdowns this year so far. So I could easily see either one of them scoring, and I could see Ridley having a pretty good game this week as well.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, the last 6 weeks, Tony Pollard has 24 total receptions, so he's averaging 4 receptions per game. And his targets are very consistent through the week. So I think, and obviously it is sometimes script element, but I think he's due for about a 5 to 6 potential target game this week based on matchup.
Let's move on. We've got the Miami Dolphins at the Houston Texans. Houston minus 2.5 points. The over-under there is 46.5 points. Tua, you're staying in the flames. Let's rock and roll. Tua, you're playing him. Yep. Devon Achane, you're playing him. Joe Mixon, you're playing him. Tyreek Hill, you're playing him. He's back to making moves here. Nico Collins, you're playing him. The second greatest tight end in the history of the world, Jonnu Smith, you're playing him. Do you think there's any way that you would have confidence playing Jalen Waddle, or dare I even mention it, Tank Dell? But Jalen Waddle, yes?
Waddle, all day.
Yeah, I agree with Tommy. I could see Jalen Waddle having some numbers this game.
And I'm going to put this out there. Do you know what Tank Dell's his catching prop is? I think it's 3.5.
It can't be good. Yeah.
I think it's 3.5. I would take the over on that. I could see him catching anywhere from about 5 to 6 balls this week. I think it's going to be a nice game for him, a nice bounce back game. They got to get him going for the playoffs. So
they're coming off their bye week. 2 weeks ago, we had a whole discussion on Tank Dell as a major drop candidate, especially considering how much owned he is.
I didn't agree with you on that.
You didn't agree with me on that, but I felt so strongly about the situation. But to your point now, this is where the rubber meets the road. They're past their bye. It doesn't matter how many weeks in a row you've had. If you believe in Tank Dell, then this is where it's going to happen. If it doesn't happen here, now it's your first round of the playoffs here. You're gonna go down with the ship. So
I kind of agree with Tommy here, though. And the only reason I say this is because Nico Collins, I believe, is going to be matched up against Jalen Ramsey on the Dolphins. Yep. So that's going to be a tough matchup for him, which will leave the door open for Tank Dell to have that potential big game with 5-6 catches.
Yeah,
Anthony, I'm sorry, Tommy. I'm sorry, Anthony. I would love to agree with you, and that logic holds. But as a Tank Dell owner in every league before I dropped him 2 weeks ago, I had that exact same logic about every other game for the last 6 games.
Well,
and he
I don't
never
think it's him.
Worked
I don't
out.
think it's him. I think it's the quarterback play. But I think that they need to be a little bit more balanced, and they're going to start throwing the ball more. And if they're going against a high-profile offense like the Miami Dolphins in the dome, in good weather, I think that this is another game that goes on to the over of the line. So I just confirmed that it is 3.5 for catches. Okay. So 5 to 6 is very doable, extremely doable for this game.
We'll use Tank Dell as a barometer for questionable guys then as we go on. Let's move on. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs at the Cleveland Browns. Kansas City minus 4.5 points. The over-under there is 45.5 points. So we got some question marks in this game. There's only a few must starts. Judge Judy, let's go. You're playing him. We're rocking and rolling. What did we say, Tommy, was his stat? He's like the number 3 wide receiver the last something like 4 weeks or 5 weeks, whatever we said on the waiver show.
He is
I think he's number
Keep going, I'll
12
find it.
on the season because of his last few.
I know it's
He jumped
crazy.
up a lot. He jumped up a lot.
He's number 4. He's the number 4 wide receiver in the last 6 weeks.
It's crazy.
And he's
Travis,
still 70, and he's still after waivers, he's still 76.2% owned.
it's crazy. Travis Kelce, you're playing him. David Njoku, you're playing him. So we also said on the waiver show, Anthony, do you agree? Like the Tillman and Moore situation, if Tillman's out, you could go ahead and play Moore. If Tillman's in, the kind of more dart throws. How do you see it that way?
Yeah,
Or-
100% see it that way. You know, and I'm actually someone that's in that exact dilemma, so I have to keep an eye on what Tillman's doing, and he's trending towards playing this week. But it's a complete dart throw. Like
He's still in concussion protocol.
Yeah, I did see that. If he doesn't play, Elijah Moore, I think, is an easy start this week. If Tillman does play, I'm going to have some decisions to make, and I think it would be a tougher choice.
Yeah.
Anthony, do you are you a sit both Pacheco and Hunt?
So, I mean,
Because they cannibalize so much of each other.
And, you know, the last few weeks, they really haven't looked good, or at least they just haven't gone off to the right start. At least Pacheco, you know, they gave Pacheco more carries this week, but he had very limited yards. I feel comfortable sitting both of them this week.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. And also Cleveland does play good defense at home. So
Yep.
I think that this is they're going to have a nice run stop. I think this is an upset game. I think this is an upset.
Do you think or do you hope? Those are two very different things.
I think that this is an upset game. If I personally would probably take Cleveland money line this week for this.
Okay.
I think they control the ball on the ground with Chubb. Chubb scores. He gets in the end zone maybe once, possibly twice. I think
Really?
Jameis Winston is going to play.
So then to you just play Chubb. You just play Chubb then. It's not even a question.
I don't think it's a question. I think you'd have to play him this week.
I think Kansas City does a good job shutting down running backs. I mean,
they do. But you know what? I mean, there's a lot of times it's kind of like the DK Metcalf element. Sometimes Jones is not on the field. When he's not on the field, they can run the ball, and sometimes he's not on the field. 3rd and short, 3rd and goal. Those elements, those are touchdowns for Nick Chubb.
Okay. I think Nick Chubb treads so carefully with it. I would be trying so hard to not play him.
I would start him with confidence this week.
I will say that the Kansas City offensive line has been struggling. And the Browns do have Myles Garrett, so I expect pretty heavy pressure on his end throughout most of the game on Mahomes. I feel like Mahomes is going to spend most of the time on the run, but I think the Browns can get to him. I do, especially with Myles Garrett.
Do you start, Tommy? Do you play any of the wide receivers with confidence? I know Hopkins has been a high floor but very low ceiling player the last couple of weeks.
Play Hopkins. I don't know if you play Worthy. I don't know if you play Juju. It's just those guys still have plays scripted for them, but they're not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough to say, all right, you could flex Worthy or you could flex Juju with confidence. If I was in this position, I'd probably start Tank Dell over Worthy or Juju this week.
We got two low-end quarterback ones here, Patrick Mahomes and Jameis. Probably a great question. So who would you play, Patrick Mahomes or Jameis Winston here?
Jameis.
Yeah, I like the Jameis odds.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean,
so I
feel like Mahomes has a complete floor where Jameis has such a high ceiling.
Yep.
Yeah, and we know Jameis is going to throw for 50 attempts, 300.
I think he plays mistake-free football this week. I really see him having a very clean game at home. Defense plays very well. I'm not saying it's a blowout, but it's gonna be a win on Cleveland.
So then, last point on this, then Tommy, to put your thought to the test. So I've categorized the Chiefs' defense here as a must start, and the logic there is it's one of the lower implied point totals of the week for the Browns, 20.5 points. Jameis tends to in turnovers really is what gets you points in fantasy football, and the Chiefs obviously have a good defense. You're saying all those 3 points, you don't really care. You think the Cleveland wins this game and they, do well and they score lots of points.
I think they're gonna score in the mid-20s, and I think that Kansas
And you
City is
think
going
he
to
plays
score.
mistake-free football? That's what you said about Jameis.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. Okay. We'll find out how that one goes. We get some differing
We'll
opinions
find
here.
out Sunday at 1 o'clock.
Yes. Yeah. Tuned in. All right. Let's move on. We've got the Dallas Cowboys at the Carolina Panthers. Carolina favorites by 2.5 points. The over/under there is 42.5 points. This is a testament to how well the Panthers have been playing as of late. I mean, they should have won the game against the Eagles last week. We got some players. Rico Suave, let's go. You're playing him. Chuba Hubbard, especially with the Brooks out for the season, very sad injury. You're rolling with him. CeeDee Lamb, you're playing him. After that, now I already know what Tommy's going to say here. Yeah,
Legacy.
All right, go ahead. Let me let you take it away. Carolina receivers, go ahead.
Adam Legacy Thielen is going to continue to go off. He is playing for legacy.
No, I agree with him. Over the last 2 games, he has run more routes and earned 30% of the Panthers' targets out of those wide receiver core.
He commands targets. He is going for legacy.
And he's
This might be his last year.
Maybe he's had
This might be his last year. It should be his last year.
It's such a nobody knows why you're saying legacy, like as a thing. If it's just for his own legacy for himself, it's such a
I've
weird.
literally stated multiple times he's playing for his own legacy. This is
All right.
for his own legacy. He's on a bottom feeder team. They're playing extremely well the past couple weeks. They're covering the spread, and he is commanding targets. He is getting great plays down the field. He's keeping I feel like he's like a sole propriety of keeping them in the game.
He's definitely performing. We talked about it on the waiver show. He's the last 2 weeks. He's the wide receiver 7. So,
Yep.
I mean, it's interesting. Some of the other options here. So, oh my gosh, I forget his first name, but Ferguson, tight end for the Cowboys.
Jake Ferguson.
Jake Ferguson. So now he's came back. So obviously we've kicked Schoonmaker to the curb. Ferguson's, I guess, is a good start. I mean, if you need it, Cooper Rush does kind of look at him. He didn't have that good of a game last week, and this particular week, I would stay away from both quarterbacks. I know Tom is big on Bryce in week 17.
Yeah, I think that this might be a week that you actually, if you want a boom play at your quarterback position because you have studs in all these other positions, I think this is one where you can actually try to go for those high points, and Bryce Young could get you there.
I
know you're completely
so
disagree with that.
So harsh disagree with that. It's such a leap of faith to go that route.
That's fine. That's fine.
Here comes a 4-touchdown game from Bryce Young.
I mean, he's been a top 10 graded quarterback the past 4 weeks, Bryce Young. So, I mean, he's definitely turned it up and turned a corner, which is good for him. You know, he was drafted so high, so it's good to see him finally put it together. And it's just he's got a real good matchup against the Cowboys. I almost agree with Tommy here. They just give up so many passing yards and passing touchdowns.
Adam Thielen.
There it is. I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't say. I guess you could take your shot on Leggett. I was saying in the waiver show that I think touchdown regression comes his way. He hasn't had a good the past couple weeks, but maybe it's just all going to be Thielen. At some point, they're going to want to see what they've got out of their young guys. I mean,
no, they balance stuff, but Thielen gets the higher share.
Okay. Let's move on to a horrific game in which Tommy and I are going to be at this game.
Yeah, and we will live stream at this game.
Yeah, we'll see.
Anthony, we'll be doing our actives and actives live at Jacksonville Stadium.
Yeah, to the misery of both of us. All right, so we've got the New York Jets at the Jacksonville Jaguars. New York Jets minus 3.5 points. The over-under there is a wonderful 40.5 points. So not many points to go around, and definitely not many for Jacksonville. So fire up your Jets defense. And fire up Garrett Wilson. You fire up Devontae Adams. Now,
I think this hits the over.
We'll see. Anthony, what's the latest on the Jets running back situation? How do you see the backup shaking up if Hall doesn't play? What do you think there?
I don't think Hall plays this week either, unfortunately.
I agree.
He had some setbacks at practice today. He wasn't looking the greatest, so I expect him to be out. Although the Jets did say that they don't plan to shut him down for the rest of the season. I still think they should at this point. They're playing for absolutely nothing.
I think they will.
Let Braylon Allen run the ball and see what you got out of him. But I fully expect this to be a Braylon Allen game. But you have Isaiah Davis right there who's vulturing touchdowns. So it's hard to trust that backfield right now.
I'm so with you.
I can't see you starting Allen with confidence.
I don't know if you can start a running back for the Jets moving forward. Unfortunately, you're talking about your handcuff to your first round pick. So, yeah, if you have other options, I would let's just put it this way. I would play Pollard over the starter of the Jets running back, whoever the running situation is.
Sure, but he's in everybody's playing Pollard.
I know, but
let's think of more questionable ones. Let's say Hall is out. You play Sincere McCormick, who we'll get to.
There's a possibility that I do.
Yeah.
There's a possibility that I do. I'd obviously also feel more comfortable with like a Tyrone Tracy over, the running back situation over there.
Anthony, we talked about it on the waiver show. I might be crazy, but I thought of Aaron Rodgers as a streaming candidate for this game. He's been doing okay. He had a good game last game. And it's Jacksonville. I feel like they could, and especially with a more amorphous running back situation, I feel like he could go targeting the wide receivers a little bit more. You agree with that? Am I being a little bold with Aaron there?
I actually agree with you. I could see him throwing for about 250, at least 2 touchdowns this week. I can see that in the cards for him, especially with the run game kind of in shambles right now. I feel like this is one of those Aaron Rodgers games where he's going to put up fantasy points.
Yeah, yep. I agree.
Mr. Lang, is the Jacksonville Jaguars a full sit? Do you play anybody on this team? Okay, pick your poison. Look at all the options.
I don't know. Yeah, no. I know. I'd probably start Tank Bigsby because he'd be a flex play. Tank Bigsby would be a flex play. I could see him hitting the end zone. But outside of that, I think it's going to be a complete crapshoot.
Sadly, I feel that way about Brian Thomas also. And since Mac Jones has taken over, Ingram has taken a massive hit. It's such a risk playing anybody on Jacksonville now.
Hey, Tank got me a touchdown this past week, so I'm happy about that.
He did. Yep. How close were you to for that helping you to win that game?
Well, it pretty much came down to that.
All right, let's move on to
like that.
Let's move on.
Close.
Let's move on to a equally horrific game. Though this is going to be such a good one to talk about. All right, so we've got the Baltimore Ravens at the New York Giants. Baltimore.
Is it so good for you to talk about this game because it's not something that you care about?
Anthony and I could make fun of the Jets all we want. So this is equal opportunity misery here. So Baltimore.
The Giants are not even going to show up.
Baltimore. This is not a made up line. Baltimore, the road favorites. 14.5 points. And the over-under there is 43.5 points. I had to look it up. This is like one of the craziest lines in years or something.
I would take the 14.5 and make an alternate spread to 20.5 for this game.
I just have the implied points total here, according to FanDuel. Baltimore, 29 points. The Giants, 14.5 points. It's one of the lowest implied points totals in years. Oh my gosh. So obviously, if I had to pick a defense I would play over the Commanders, it would be the Ravens this week. So you fire up your Ravens. You're playing Lamar Jackson, you're playing Derrick Henry, and you're playing Mark Andrews. I feel like the wide receivers here for both teams are flex options. They're definitely questionable. Check your teams out. How do you see this, Tommy? Flowers, Neighbors, Wandale, how do you see this?
I think let's just put it this way. Derrick Henry's probably seen the end zone twice. So you could do a 2-time anytime touchdown with that guy this week. But outside of that, Deontay Johnson is out. he's out with the injury now.
Yeah, he's out with his pride being injured.
Yeah,
but
his injury, his gut hurts. But
my worry about Flowers is just that they get ahead so quick and they don't really have to throw it.
I think the only valuable start that you could start with confidence this week is Andrews. Outside of that, obviously you're starting Henry, like I just said. But I think that this is a run game. I think Lamar is going to get some rushing yards. I think it's just going to be bad. Like there's no point even watching this game unless you can just watch highlights. It's just going to be a highlight game for the Baltimore Ravens.
So then, therefore, do you see the Giants as a complete full sit? I mean, do you see Neighbors as a flex option, Tyrone as a flex option?
Only player that I could see you starting is Tyrone Tracy. Neighbors could be based on catches. If you're in a PPR, half-point PPR, then you have relevance there. I don't see him breaking 50 yards receiving. I see him maybe going like 9 catches for 32 yards.
That's PPR right there.
Yeah, no, I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
I agree with Tommy. This game is so far lopsided, and I think it's going to hit to be so far lopsided. I can't start any of the Giants besides Tracy. Tommy DeVito, I think, is starting this week because True Lock is hurt.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad.
I have zero confidence in him as throwing the ball. And plus, I think the Giants are playing for the tank right now. Anyways, they're trying to get a high draft pick. There's no point to win games at this point.
I think the Giants are going to lose by the most they've ever lost at home. Actually no. They lost to the Cowboys by 70 points. I don't think it's gonna be that bad. But if you want to go big on this one, if you take minus 29.5 spread, minus 29.5 is plus 520. Do it.
I always get worried about like those backdoor covers in garbage time or something, but I don't even think the Giants
there is not
backups.
No, garbage time is not even going to happen in this game. It's just going to garbage time is just watching the Giants.
The whole game is garbage time. Oh man, it's going to be bad. Yeah, we talk about this all the time that when you look at implied points totals, we always say, for big implied points totals, you want as many pieces in the game as possible. Man, for low ones, try to avoid as much as possible. Oh
I could see Justice Hill having a good game this week.
Yeah,
that's possible.
A nice 80-yard run.
Oh, it's going to be bad. All right, let's move on to a better game. All right, we've got the Indianapolis Colts at the Denver Broncos. Denver minus 3.5 points. The over-under there is 44.5 points. Bo Nix, I mean, I don't see how you sit him. You keep rocking and rolling. They're coming out their bye. I mean, he's going to be great. Jonathan Taylor, you're playing him. Cortland Sutton. I don't have the stat in front of me, but for like the last 6 or 7 weeks, he's in the top 12 wide receivers himself. Beyond that, what do you think, Anthony?
He's actually fifth.
Receiver
points. He's averaging 16.5 points in the last 6 games, which is more than Cooper Kupp, CeeDee Lamb, and he's right behind Puka Nacua.
He's been amazing, and Nix is hyper-targeting him. How do you see the wide receiver options in Indianapolis? Do you play any of them, or are you worried about it?
Sutton has 46 catches in 5 games. They just had the bye, so 46 catches in 5 games, 10-9, 8, 10-9, and then the bye.
Yeah, so the wide receiver options in Indianapolis, Anthony, I mean, how do you see them? Are any of them worth playing? What do you think?
I think Michael Pittman, he's going against Patrick Surtain on the Denver Broncos. And as we know, Surtain is one of the top cornerbacks in the league. So with the season, especially the seasons Pittman's been having, I'd probably shy away from him. I can't feel like I have to start him with confidence this week.
Yeah. I think it's a bounce back game for Denver's defense. I think if they do have a deep throw, it's going to go to Pierce or Downs. So roll that dice.
Is Downs out? Has Downs been declared out, or it's questionable at the moment?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah. They need him though. They need him this week.
Yeah. Tommy, I know we love talking about this. What about the Broncos running back situation?
McLaughlin is RB1A. I would flex him this week.
Okay.
And honestly, and I will put this out there: if you need to start Valet, the wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, I could see him hitting the end zone.
Okay. And yeah, like Tommy said, the Broncos defense, this is probably the last time that you can start the Broncos defense this year. The rest of their matchups, they're playing some real good teams. The Broncos defense, in case you're wondering, it's by far the best fantasy defense this year. And they're going to be playing against. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you start, say if you're in this position where you have two defenses, do you start a Denver Broncos defense or the Washington Commanders defense this week?
I think I would start the Commanders if I have that. I mean, you can't the Rattler, DiNucci, Hayner situation, whatever he is. Yeah, I mean, come on. Yep. But again, the Broncos is perfectly good play. A lot of people don't have that luxury.
or let's put it this way, the Broncos or the Jets.
I'd go Jets in this, to be honest.
I agree with you, Anthony.
Mac Jones just looks horrible. Yeah, he looks even worse than he did last year. So yeah, I feel like the Jets is not a bad start this week.
But the Broncos are not a bad start, Tommy.
Anthony Richardson can still hurt you with his legs. He might not be able to throw the ball well this week because that Broncos D is pretty good, and I think he'll take advantage of the running lanes and probably have a couple rushing touchdowns this week.
Yeah, but then Joe Flacco comes in because Richardson's tired. With those tired memes. Oh, I just ran all over the field. I'm tired.
Well, let's see how that game goes. There would be no world in which I would play Richardson this week. I don't care how bad my core hurt for quarterbacks. All right, let's move on. So next game we've got the New England Patriots at the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona minus 5.5 points. The over under there is 46.5 points. So we got a couple must plays on the Cardinals side, and that's about it. So we've got James Conner, you're playing him. Trey McBride, you're playing him. And
he's questionable.
Is he questionable?
Yeah, he came back. He's not healthy right now. I'll look it up as we're talking about this, but he came up on the injury report today. I
saw that on the thing, and I thought it was like a joke the way that I saw it on Twitter. But
definitely is not a joke.
Okay. If McBride is in, you're playing him, and McBride has been like one of, if not the best tight end the whole year you're playing.
It's his knee. That's been lingering in the past couple weeks, so he'll play this week.
Okay. And like we were saying about defenses, we've got the Arizona Cardinals as a must play. The Cardinals defense has been good. Obviously, the last game was not good, but they are home. They're favored. The implied points total for the Patriots is very low, and they're fighting for their division. They're very, very competitive right now. So the Cards are good defense. On the Patriots side, you could go with Hunter Henry. Other than that, close your eyes. Don't bother with anybody else. What do you think, Anthony?
I'd have a hard time deciding on which wide receiver to start there. It's because it's just, it's someone different every week. Hunter Henry's probably the most reliable and consistent receiver that they have right now. I'd be confident starting him. But then again, are the Cardinals going to hone in on him knowing that he's the most consistent receiver that they have? And then they have Kayshon Boutte. Polk is still out there. I just don't trust those guys enough to play.
I honestly think you could start Stevenson and be okay with it this week.
Remember, you were iffy about, we talked about on the waiver show that Stevenson is one of those low-end RB2s that you were happier playing McCormick over, for example.
Yeah, but again, if you have McCormick, most likely you have the depth at running back where you could flex him as well. So you could basically RB2 flex. I think Stevenson is a decent flex play this week.
Okay.
You guys think that MHJ takes advantage of his matchup this week? I mean, he has an advantageous matchup. He's going against Christian Gonzalez.
I think if I'm the owner who has Harrison, I'm probably playing him, considering where I drafted him and my other options.
Yeah, I just would be a little nervous because Michael Wilson, he just gets hyper targeted in the end zone. He's taken those touchdowns away from Harrison and McBride. So those, I mean,
well, we didn't get to it, Tommy, but so the quarterback situation, I was going to wait until the end, but now's a good point. The problem is that Kyler is so hot and cold. So he has one game where he's unbelievable, like four
Yeah,
touchdowns,
you almost
perfection.
feel like every other week a new Call of Duty comes out.
Right, we're going to the Call of Duty narrative now. But I mean, that's why I like Kyler. I wouldn't even feel comfortable playing Kyler because I don't know what Kyler we're going to get. I don't know how this is going to go. This could be a defensive struggle where they win like 13-10 or something. So,
I got a question for you. So if you have Kyler and you have another player, you have two other players, Justin Herbert, and you have Jordan Love. Who do you start out of those three?
What do you think, Anthony?
Is it Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, or Kyler?
Yeah, Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is going against
That's
Tampa Bay at home.
Jordan Love.
So they're home in LA, and we're obviously going to cover these. And then also Jordan Love is away in Seattle, Sunday Night Football.
I think I would go Justin Herbert there.
Yeah,
I mean,
I like
Kyler's obviously your ceiling play, but like I would not. It's like with him, it's either 0 or 40. You know, like it's crazy.
And I'll be the latter. I would go Kyler this week. I think it's a really good matchup. They're fighting for first place, and
this is fair.
And they I think they're gonna have a good ground game against the New England Patriots, and they're gonna be able to run some play action. Kyler's gonna have some some yards from rushing, and I think he's going to make some smart plays down the field. So I do think that this could be an opportunity for Harrison this week, but when they get inside that 20, it's not going to Harrison. It's either going to Wilson, Dortch, I can't even say McBride because he is not scoring touchdowns. He's catching balls, but he ain't scoring touchdowns.
Yeah. Anthony, we brought up that I know you and I are kind of fans of Drake May. He's shown a lot of flashes of greatness. This is not the week to start him. No. But after this, New England has some nice other matchups. He might be one of these streaming candidates that we bring up. But you got to get through this week first, so don't chance it for this week. So let's move on to Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Los Angeles Chargers. The LA Chargers are favorites there, 3 points. The over-under is 46.5 points. So up until recently, we haven't even been thinking about starting Baker Mayfield. We've just been rolling him in there. It's not even been a question. Now it's a bit more of a question. So how do you see this game going, Anthony? I mean, are you confident in Baker? Are you confident in Tampa Bay lighting it back up offensively?
I think he's going to have a tough time, but I would, if you have him, you're probably starting him. If he's your starting quarterback, and you don't have anybody else, that Chargers defensive line is going to give him a hard time. I can see that, but at least Baker is mobile, which plays well for him. So I'm in a predicament where I'm actually debating who I'm going to start this week because I have Jordan Love and Baker Mayfield as my starting quarterbacks, and it's a toss-up.
Unfortunately, I don't like both of them, but if I had to pick one of them, I'd probably go Jordan Love.
I think I agree with Tommy on this, Anthony.
And
by the way, Baker could prove us wrong, but
yeah, I think that I think Tampa Bay wins this game. And I think they win this game because of the running game.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a high passing game from Baker by any means.
No, I think there's going to be a test in the waters with the running back situation in with the Chargers. I think Vidal, as I said yesterday, actually takes over the lead role as running back because he has a little bit more elusiveness and he is running a lot better than Edwards. Edwards is going to get some goal line carries, but I think Vidal is going to be working within the 20s.
We'll see how that. I was a little less bullish on that than you.
Yes, and the other thing is Will Dissly is doubtful this week, so Lad McConkey is the primary. If he plays, which I think he will play this week. And I think it's Hayden Hurst, is it? The backup tight end or the guy?
Yeah, but I would just completely avoid the LA Chargers tight end situation.
Yeah. I mean, you're not starting a tight end for the LA Chargers this week, but I feel like you could start with confidence Lad McConkey and Joshua Palmer.
Yeah, let's get to that. If Lad is playing, he's a must start. If Ladd is not playing, Palmer's a good play. I mean, I wouldn't feel so great about it. And we were joking about it too. I love how we're purposely skipping over Quentin Johnston. Again, start him if you think he's going to catch the ball or not. The balls that are actually thrown to him.
Well, again, it's not a primetime game, so he can't catch the ball in prime time. So he might have 4 catches, 5 targets, 4 catches, but are they going to be relevant plays?
I think I'm not as
well. Let me ask you this: if you have Quentin Johnson and McMillan, and you have 2 flexes, right? And you're trying to fill that flex 2. Do you play McMillan or do you play Quentin Johnson?
Probably Quentin Johnston.
I think you play McMillan.
Okay. Well, let's parlay that into the Bucks here. So Mike Evans is a must start, no question about it. Yeah, I mean, some of their tertiary options here. McMillan, I know, Anthony, we were kind of mentioned on the waiver show that McMillan had a great game. But to me, what McMillan's more, let's say, guilty of doing is just taking away stuff from Cade Otton. It's been basically 3 games where Cade Otton has not came through here. I don't know if Cade's going to have a bounce back performance. I'm not counting on it in the leagues that I have him. You think he does it? What do you think?
Well, I agree in the sense where he is taking away touchdowns. I think Cade still had a pretty decent week this past week. I think 70 or 80 yards receiving. So the problem is they're still targeting him. He's still getting looks from Baker Mayfield, and he's just not really turning them into anything.
Yeah, he had 70 yards.
Yeah, he had 70 yards. So I feel like, you know what, he's still startable with confidence. He's
getting tight end numbers. That's what it is.
Yeah. I mean,
he's getting you what you need. He's getting, when he got the yardage like that, he's getting you what you need minus the touchdown.
I guess that's fair. How about
we discussed it yesterday, and you were 100% on board with this. If you get a tight end that's basically getting 3 catches for 35 yards and a touchdown, that is a good day for a tight end.
That's fine. It's hard to predict. It's hard to predict touchdowns, though.
I understand that, but if a guy is getting 5 to 6 catches for 70 yards, that is a good day for a tight end.
It was a good day.
It levels out to the same perspective.
I guess my point is that, let's say after the Evans injury, the way in which they were just endlessly peppering him with targets and end zone targets, it's just not the way that it's happening now. I don't know if that's more of a function of just Evans is just absorbing everything, or McMillan is stepping up a little bit. He's not as reliable as he once was. But again, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the Chargers defense is a little bit better than some of the defenses that they've been going against. So I think they're going to have to spread the ball more, and I think that this is a good game for Cade Otton.
I'm not going to disagree with you there, Billy, but I've been watching their games, and I have noticed that they are still targeting him in the red zone. The problem is, once they get down to that area, a lot of teams are double teaming Cade in the end zone, which leaves McMillan and Evans open for one-on-ones.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've been watching those games too, and he does have plays scripted for him in those areas, but he is having hyper target, hyper coverage over there.
We talked about him real quick, but Herbert. I like Herbert this week. I think he's going to have a good game. They have a pretty decent implied points total there, and then the running backs for both teams. So Tommy mentioned it. So Tommy is more bullish on the Vidal taking over the role than I am. I'm happy to meet Tommy about halfway and be like, Vidal's going to get more work. I don't know how relevant it will be. People can listen to us and make their prognostications about how that's going to go. Eventually, it won't be Edwards. It's just a question of how long that's going to take. And on the Tampa Bay side, so I don't know what the latest is on the Irving injury, but the way that I see the backs going is if Irving's out, play White and play him with confidence. If Irving is in, it's funny. 2 weeks ago, we were just play Irving and just play White. But now with the injury and they're playing a great defense, I'd feel worried about playing either of them. You agree, Anthony?
I think if Irving is playing, I feel like you can start him, no problem. I don't think they're going to put him back in there,
No injury limitations, no nothing.
50%. It's not worth it to them. So I feel like if he's playing, he's 100% ready to go, and I feel like you can start him with confidence.
Okay.
I mean, you remember the Todd Bowles situation. He likes playing his guys. Hurt, not hurt, whatever.
Yeah.
That's true. It's his detriment. All right, let's move on. We've got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia minus 5.5 points. The over-under there is 42.5 points. That does not leave a lot of points for Pittsburgh. Their implied points total there is 18.5 points. Fire up your Eagles defense and do it with confidence this week. Not to mention with some injuries that are being suffered on the Steelers. We'll get to that. You're playing Jalen Hurts, you're playing Saquon Barkley, and despite how much Tommy and I probably dislike this player, you're playing AJ Brown. It is what it is, and the squeaky wheel is going to get the grease. So whatever his failures in making some catches on a low pizza pie. You don't agree. You do not agree with that. That's
I think against Joey Porter Jr. this week on the Steelers. That's a really tough matchup.
Yeah, I mean, even matchup though, I think they just don't care what he's saying. Like if they're winning if they're winning the games and they're winning it, I think it would be a major mistake to change script and game plan for Hurts to start gunning the ball down the field because AJ Brown is upset.
I don't know if that means major. It means that I think that they might do it a bit more. But take of it what you will. I mean, if you want to take that shot on the Pittsburgh side, so I see all of these guys as pretty good options, but not great options. Freiermuth, like we said, he's a good tight end off the waiver wire. If he's better than other options you've got, roll him in there. I mean, I'd play Freiermuth over Kincaid. I know we talked about that, and I wouldn't have a problem with that. But I would not play him over guys like Ertz or Jonnu Smith, like we mentioned. Calcaterra is another one of those options too, but I'd play Freiermuth over Calcaterra. The wide receivers for Pittsburgh, do we know if Pickens is definitely out?
He's leaning to not play.
Leaning to not play. I mean, Anthony, does that mean you rock and roll with Austin or even Mike Williams, or you just stay away?
It could be a pretty big day for Calvin Austin, to be honest with you, if Pickens is out.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe it's a bigger day for Freiermuth then.
Yeah, that could be too. Mike Williams, I don't know. To me, he just hasn't played enough to make an actual impact right now. I know he had that one touchdown. That's really all he's done in the last few weeks of being there.
I think it's just a bigger day for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they just smack it around.
Okay. The running backs for Pittsburgh. If you have Najee Harris, you're probably playing him. Although I would lower expectations.
I think you're starting Eagles defense with confidence this week.
Yeah, that's what we said at the top. And just a quick mention, Jaylen Warren. If there was ever a guy that you need to get guaranteed 9 points or something, put Jaylen Warren in, and just let it rock and roll. And yeah, it is what it is. I think Russ, who's been doing well, this is not the game that you play him either. So, any other points you want to make? We'll move on.
No, we can move on to a better game.
All right, let's move on to a lot better game. Yep. The Buffalo Bills at the Detroit Lions. Detroit minus 1.5 points. The over-under there is 54.5 points. This is going to be a great game.
Guess what, Billy?
What?
Mr. Kincaid is back.
Okay, we'll get to that. Yeah, there's also a lot of guys who could catch the ball in Buffalo. We'll get to that too. So let's get some must starts out the way real quick. Josh Allen, you're playing him happily with a smile on your face. James Cook, he did not have a good game last week. I get it, but he's been unbelievable the whole season. You're playing him, especially in a 54.5 point over-under game. You're rocking and rolling with Gibbs and Montgomery, and of course you're rolling with St. Brown. And as Anthony would love to say, this is a Laporta game. So you're rocking and rolling with Laporta here. So go ahead, Tommy. If
you are not starting any defenses named the Bills or the Lions this week, take them out of your lineup and start somebody else, please.
Yeah, start somebody else. All right, go ahead, Tom. Tommy, sell me on any pass catcher in Buffalo. Sell me.
I think with Kincaid coming back healthy, I think that he is going to have anywhere from 5 to 7 targets. They're going to be value targets. He'll see the end zone. He'll score, so he'll have anywhere from 4 to 6 catches for about 65 yards and a touchdown.
It's a bold prediction, man. I mean, he hasn't really been that way ever
Don't
the whole
matter.
year, even before
That's
his
what
injury.
it's going to happen. They're going to start rolling him up and start lining him up for the playoffs.
You feel more confident in Kincaid than any one of these 5
Well, no,
names.
I mean, Khalil Shakir is going to still get his targets. Amari Cooper is going to get his targets, but the 14 targets that Amari Cooper got last week, Josh Allen's going to realize that Amari Cooper can't catch every single target that's thrown to him. He only has 14 targets, 6 receptions. So I think probably, like I said, 5 to 6 targets from that share is going to go over to Kincaid, and they will catch the ball, and they're going to have to keep up with the hyper profile, hyper targeted, high profile offense of the Detroit Lions at home with a Jared Goff. Gives Montgomery. It's gonna be fun.
Are you playing Kincaid over Freiermuth?
Yeah.
Really?
I might actually go Freiermuth in this situation.
No. I'm going fireworks here.
The Lions are actually really good at defending the tight end. I mean, I know they had a bad week against Tucker Kraft, but that's just 1 week. On average, they allow just 5 fantasy points to tight ends on the year. I mean, the matchup's just not on paper is not good.
I think they haven't played a great offense as good as the Buffalo Bills.
Well, people can make their decisions. I mean, among the wide receivers, you're saying you would start Shakir with some level of confidence?
Oh yeah. He's starting. He's been good all year. There's no reason for me to even think about benching him.
Amari Cooper?
I probably honestly, I might start Shakir over Amari Cooper only because Shakir plays in the slot, and
I agree.
Are susceptible to receivers in the slot, so that's advantageous to Shakir.
And Coleman coming back from the injury.
The other thing is Kincaid plays slot too.
That's true. But by the way, I mean, it's not like Knox is off the field. I mean, Knox has been performing.
No, he's not. They double tight end it. They'll double tight end it, but Kincaid is a wide receiver basically.
I guess it's just there's just so many mouths to feed now. I mean, we're not even mentioning Barefoot King. I mean, it's just like.
But I think Barefoot King goes out of the window. Like he's gone.
Okay.
I will say this though, in regards to James Cook, you have to play him because he's been phenomenal all year. He's not a bench by any means, but be mindful that the Detroit Lions are the best run defense in football. They allow, I think, just maybe 17 attempts per game, and they have the fewest points to fantasy running backs this year.
Yep. Last quick point we'll make, and by the way, people could make their decisions on the bill. Like we have some disagreement on those, but the last point we'll make is so on the Jared Goff thing. I mean, we say it all the time. It's pick your poison if you think Jared Goff is going to have a great game that week, because the Lions could put up 50 points and Jared Goff could be awful. They could put up 50 points and he could be the number 1 quarterback running away. So it's depending on how those touchdowns get in the end zone. So a lineman could get a touchdown. A lineman could throw one, depending on how the Lions do it. So pick your poison if you want to do it. Let's move on. We've got the Green Bay Packers at the Seattle Seahawks. Green Bay are road favorites, 2.5 points. The over-under there is 46.5 points. I mean, you're rocking and rolling with Jacobs. You're rolling with insert starting running back for the Seahawks here. It'll probably be Charbonnet. Walker is trending towards out.
Walker's still questionable.
Yeah. You're rocking and rolling with JSN. By the way, if anybody doesn't know who this is, wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks, Jackson Smith and Jigba. And you're rolling with Tucker Kraft. I mean, the last 3 games, what's the stat here? The last 3 games, he's the tight end 6. Or sorry, the last 3 games have been great. He's the tight end 6 on the year. Let's get that. Yep. Let's get that stat right. I know that Tommy's going to say, do not play Metcalf under any circumstances until he proves it. I'm inclined at this point to agree more with him now. But I guess wait and see. Anthony, what do you think about any of the wide receiver options in Green Bay?
They're hard to trust. Honestly, it's just a carousel of receivers at this point.
Yep.
It's all plug and play. I can't sit here and tell you with confidence who I would start on that wide receiver core right now. I mean, Jaden Reed, maybe.
I want to say Reed, but
Yeah, I want to say that too, but it's hard, and that's just being honest.
You you want
Jordan
me to
Love
give you a
and
bold? Yeah, I'm
sorry,
going to
go
give
ahead.
you a bold. I'm going to give you a bold prediction. I don't like this, but just because it is Sunday night football, I could see Jaden Reed and also I could see DK Metcalf having a massive long touchdown, but that is all they'll do.
Okay. Are they Sunday Night Football?
They are Sunday night football.
Okay. Well, then, because there's two games after this.
There's two Monday night games
Ah,
this week.
okay.
And this
Okay.
this game could be a preview of the wild card game in a few weeks too.
That's true.
Yeah. But again, those are bold predictions. Outside of that, there's don't start them. Those are DFS plays. Don't start those guys this week.
Some lower end quarterback options: Jordan Love and Geno Smith. I think hopefully you have some a little bit better options, but in terms of if you're forced into it, I guess you could do worse. Geno is passing the ball like every play. And Jordan Love, when he's not having a game where he completes 12 passes, is pretty good.
Yeah.
12 passes is what he completed last game, but yeah.
I think Anthony. I think we were discussing this earlier. I think you do start Jordan Love this week.
Let's move on to the Monday night football games. First one, Chicago Bears at the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota minus 7 points. The over-under there is 44.5 points. That does not leave a lot of points for Chicago. The implied points total there is 19 points for Chicago. So fire up your Vikings defense. Again, they've been a great defense all year. Fire them up. Do it with confidence. We got some must starts, a lot of which are going to make Tommy very happy. Sam Darnold, we're done being doubters. Rock and roll, Sam Darnold. He's going to be great. Aaron Jones to Anthony's happiness. I mean, he's another one. Had a great game. He's going to have another great game. Justin Jefferson, you're playing him. Sorry, go ahead.
I will say that I don't think that Darnold has a top 5 performance this week, but I think he has a top 10 performance, and that's what you need. You need that, but
top 12.
I don't see the same 5 touchdown week. I see maybe about a 2 to 3 touchdown week. So, the Bears defense, they've been up and down, but I think that they'll, divisional game they do play a lot better.
Yep. Justin Jefferson, you're playing him. TJ Hawkinson, it hasn't been a good the last, I guess, 1 or 2 weeks, but he's too talented, and the offense is like they're looking for him too much. It's just that, sometimes the Kevin McCarthy stuff, he just goes to
sometimes they just throw deep balls to Addison and
to Jordan Addison.
He closes off the drive.
So the Jordan Addison conversation, Tommy, how do you land on that? You think he's a start? Roll him in. I mean, you're not getting 3 touchdowns every game, but
I think he is not a wide receiver 1 or 2. I think he is a flex play. If there is no other options, I will say this: I probably would start Mooney over Addison because of him being a little bit more consistent when it comes down to needing a wide receiver. I may also start I probably would. I would do a Khalil Shakir over Addison as well.
okay.
I will say this: Addison is going against Jalen Johnson on the Bears this week, and he's been one of the best quarters in the NFL this year. But I agree with Tommy in the sense where I look at Addison as a wide receiver 3 this week. But I will say that last time Addison played the Bears, he went for 8 catches, 162 yards, and a touchdown. So he had a very good game against them. But the matchup on paper is still tough.
You just don't want to be chasing last week's numbers is the big thing.
No, I don't think
he could, and he could do it again. He could do it again. He could do it again, or he can match what he did last time that they played the Bears as well. But I'd be very cautious, especially this being week 1 in the playoffs. If you need this, if you're playing and you're looking for a solid play, I'd be very cautious. I wouldn't start Addison with confidence this week.
On the Bears side, the running backs, I'm not crazy about their running back situation. I think they're full sits, especially against the Vikings defense. The wide receivers, I would like to see. I think you're probably starting DJ Moore. Keenan Allen's a bit up in the air after having so many good weeks in a row. He did not have a good week. It kind of went to Odunze. I think Odunze is a full sit though in this game.
Yeah, that again, people don't chase last week's numbers. He's not getting 2 touchdowns. He's not even getting 1 touchdown this week. Odunze. It's going to be back to Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. Odunze is going to get a couple targets, but he's not going to get those high profile targets.
I wouldn't even be able to trust Moore or Allen this week, to be honest with you. I just don't trust Caleb Williams, though. It's not a product of them. I think they're great. It's just what is Caleb Williams going to do against this Vikings defense?
I agree with you, Anthony. It's hard. It's going to be hard to trust it, but you might be forced into it.
Oh, yeah,
it was hard to watch. And it was hard to watch last week against the 49ers, but there was garbage time, which made the fantasy relevant element. So, it could be in those kind of scripted perspectives, and who knows. But I feel more comfortable starting a Keenan Allen or a DJ Moore as my wide receiver 2 or flex play.
And Cole Kmet is an emergency tight end if you need it. Might be better options out there, but feel for it.
Definitely are better options out there than Cole Kmet.
Yeah. All right. Final Monday night, final game, the second Monday Night Football game here. The Atlanta Falcons at the Las Vegas Raiders. Atlanta are road favorites, 4.5 points. The over-under there is 44.5 points. The implied point total there for Las Vegas is not as low as it could have been. I think that's because of some of the uncertainty with Aiden O'Connell. So we talked about this on the waiver show. We were under the impression that Aiden O'Connell was out for the season, and then magically he's not out for the season. I don't know if he's even been declared necessarily out for this game or if he's going to play. I think the way that we analyze this game is completely dependent on whether he plays or not. For example, if it's Desmond Ridder who starts, I think the Falcons immediately become a must-start defense, basically right up there with like the Commanders and stuff. If not, I would stay away because the Falcons have just been bad, and we've been lamenting about how bad the Falcons have been. So take of it what you will. But other than that, you're playing Bijan. You're playing Drake London, you're playing Brock Bowers, but beyond them is a lot of flex options and stuff. So like Tommy mentioned, Darnell Mooney, if you have him, he's been pretty good for the year. I feel like you could roll him in. And then the darling waiver wire pickup this week, the Sincere McCormick.
I would also say McLeod is actually a nice play potentially if needed this week too.
Even as bad as Kirk has looked.
Yep. I mean, he did it last week too. McLeod had a nice week last week.
I guess that's fair.
I think he's more consistent than Drake London.
Well, might be a bridge too far.
No, well, Drake London has massive games, but I think based on consistency, I think that McLeod can actually be a decent flex option this week.
Maybe. I've got London stats right here. I mean, the last 2 games have been pretty good. They haven't been ceiling games. He had a bad game the week before, but he's been the problem with London is he hasn't had a ceiling game in quite a long time. But it's been more like Hopkins, where he's been giving you some pretty good floors the last couple, going back 6 or 7 games.
Yeah. And again, I'm not saying anything, bad about him. I mean, because he's had week 9, it was 2 receptions, but then it went to 13 receptions, 7 receptions, the bye, 16 receptions, and then 10 receptions.
Yep.
Right now, he is number 10 on the last 6 weeks, including the bye. And then outside of that, the next one is Darnell Mooney at 35 receptions. So, he definitely has the favorite target. But it's also where, what kind of targets are they, right? A lot of these targets, they're forcing the ball to London because he's the greatest talent on that offense right now. But when London is either double covered or he's being covered by the better cornerback. It's going to open the field for those guys. So Ray McLeod and also Mooney are going to have opportunities to thrive in that offense when, because we all know that Mr. Kyle Pitts is he's done it to himself. So
yeah, would you play either one of those guys over Tank Dell?
I'd play Mooney over Tank Dell,
I agree with
but yeah, but I would play Tank Dell over McLeod.
Okay.
that.
I believe that Mooney has a higher percentage of scoring a touchdown than Tank Dell. But I do think Tank Dell should see the end zone this week. So I mean, it's kind of like it's who do you think is going to get one more reception or who's going to get 10 more yards kind of thing. And I think Mooney has the opportunity to do that over Tank.
Well, I mean, we'll find out. I mean, it would take an astronomical effort for me to even remotely think about playing Tank Dell. But that's me, somebody who's been burned by it. So the running back situation for Las Vegas. So Zamir White has been declared out for the year. Good riddance at this point for anybody who thought he was going to be amazing for the year. That's been gone. Madison, I think, has been declared out for this game. Even considering Madison has been so plotting and just in the games that he was relevant, it was such a volume play and no other thing. I mean, he has not looked good. So if you picked up Sincere McCormick this week, you're probably looking to play him. I think Sincere.
Yeah, props to Anthony by talking coach talk last week. The coach talk actually was true. And Sincere McCormick has earned the RB1 position for the Raiders. Now, we don't know what that means because we don't know what Raiders are going to show up. But he does catch the ball. I think Abdullah is obviously a nice potential play as well. But again, I don't know if you play any of these guys. If Sincere McCormick and Abdullah are probably. I mean, obviously, Sincere McCormick is the only one that's owned right now over all of them. But I just don't know how you start one of those guys if you have, better options in front of them. So,
if O'Connell plays, are you comfortable playing, or does it matter to you if it's Ritter or O'Connell, like the Sincere situation?
I think I'm still playing Sincere. I mean, he had 15 rush attempts last week for 78 yards, which are pretty good numbers. I think if you're someone who picked him up off the waiver wire, you're probably, like you said, Billy, you're probably looking to play him. And I would, especially if O'Connell's not playing, I feel like they're going to rely heavy on that run game.
Okay.
Remember, Ritter was drafted by the Atlanta Falcons.
Revenge game, but still.
Revenge game.
How good is Ritter, though,
Yeah, he's going to revenge. He's going to revenge you, right?
He's gonna revenge by throwing three interceptions.
Listen, I think we might see the most interceptions in a football game Monday night if Ritter plays between Kirk and Ritter.
Oh yeah,
that's why I was saying pick up the Falcons if Ritter plays. Well, by that logic, then if it's Ritter, don't even just completely full sit your Jacoby Myers situation. If it's O'Connell, throw Myers in there. He's our 84 target guy. He's our So I mean, you could do.
If O'Connell plays, I think Myers is actually a must start. He's got a great matchup against the Falcons. I can't see if O'Connell plays. I can't see how you sit Myers.
Yeah. And by the way, Tommy mentioned it. Kudos to you for sifting through coach speak about the Sincere McCormick thing. This is the same coach who said that Zamir White would be the starter for the full season, before the season started. So
Anthony was super sincere about it, and it really paid out.
Yeah, very good. It's a good thing that joke keeps paying dividends for us. So
it's going to keep paying dividends, just like legacy.
Yeah. So that's the end of the games. Actually, I have a quick question for you guys. So the big giant game of the week, Buffalo versus Detroit. Who wins that game?
I want to go Detroit here. They're rocking and rolling.
I don't want to take anybody. I'm just going to say over the points.
This could be a potential Super Bowl matchup here. So we're getting a little preview.
That's right. If you look online, people will be like, "This is the Super Bowl we want." But apparently, the Super Bowl we're going to get is Eagles versus Chiefs. So
I got to be honest, since it is Detroit at home, Buffalo beat Detroit. Was it last year at home or 2 years ago? That was the last time they played in Detroit. I think, and that was a Thanksgiving game. I think Detroit wins this game.
I think Buffalo wins this game.
Yeah,
but I agree.
Buffalo.
I agree with you about the over. By the way, if we didn't otherwise say it, probably, and we're just saying a quick thing on a bet. If anybody would take a quick bet for the week, take the take the Ravens alternate spread over the Giants. That's going to be
yes,
minus
minus 30 and a half. Do it.
Going Lions 33, Bills 30. I just like the Lions' aggressiveness. They go for it on fourth down. Dan Campbell is not afraid to roll the dice. I think
it's going to be a great game.
I can't wait for it. I'm pumped.
Yeah. It's going to be good.
We just, just to close this off, we just want to thank everybody that tuned in and watched the entire video. Even if you just kind of messed around and just watched some of the video for the implied areas that, that works for you guys. We appreciate the support. If you guys could like, subscribe, that'd be wonderful. Drop some comments, and we'll be going live in Jacksonville on Sunday. So be prepared to drop some comments or start sits for week 1 of the playoffs.
Thank you, everybody. Good night. Good night.
Have a great night.